Good morning or afternoon, depending on when you're viewing this video. I am going to take you through our family orientation presentation for Residence Life here at William and Mary. My name is Harriet Kendall. I'm the Director of Housing and Residence Life here, and I'm going to walk you through our program here at Residence Life to kind of give you an idea of what to expect for your student as they transition to moving in on campus with us. So I'm going to share my screen so you can see the presentation and we'll go through slide by slide. Okay, so again, my name is Harriet Kendall. I'm the Director of Residence Life here at William and Mary, and I am going to go through each slide. So as we walk through, I'm going to introduce kind of just a little bit about me and understanding why I'm here today at William and Mary. A little bit about my background. I got my undergraduate degree at Central Michigan University, Bachelor of Science. And then I received my master's degree in specialization in administration for student affairs in counseling at South Dakota State University. And professionally in residence life, I have had over 15 years. And a lot of the why is about understanding the student experience. I was a part of residence life in my undergraduate years, and it just had such a big impact on me. But it also helped me understand finding a sense of belonging and being in community with others and just really having that full student experience. And that is really what we try to strive for here in residence life. But also, I understand the nerves that you're all feeling as you send your students to live on campus with us. It is really a lot, especially if it's your first child going to a new campus or even your second or third. It can be overwhelming. And I already have those fears and feelings too. I have two children, as you can see. I have a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old. I am sending my 5-year-old off to kindergarten this fall, and so I understand the kind of the letting go, and it's a big step, and it does feel scary at times. But what I want you to know is that there is always someone to call if you are worried about your student or you get a call from your student and they're just kind of like, I'm not connecting here, or I just don't feel like I belong. Know that you can call our office and ask for supports. And we have so many resources across campus, but also within our office. And we're not going to tell your student that you called our office and said, "Hey, can you check up on our student?" A lot of the times, we actually will take your information and then we'll actually contact the in-hall staff. And sometimes it's just the RA on that floor and just saying, "Hey, will you stop by and just check in with that student and see how things are going and let us know and check back in." And sometimes that's all they need is just kind of a check-in and kind of some guidance or maybe just someone to connect with. And so just know that you can call us. Or if they call home and they're saying that, things with my roommate are just really hard and it's kind of a struggle, call us, let us know. Because the sooner we know, the sooner we can help intervene and kind of help guide those conversations and set those expectations. And so just note that we literally are a phone call away or even an email to myroom@wm.edu. There are so many different options for you to call and get supports for your student. So we're going to dive into why living on campus is so important. It truly, first there are just what's on the screen. There's convenience. There's a sense of community. It's an inclusive housing cost for the student and you. Improve satisfaction with their college experience, draw stronger connections to faculty, and access to on-campus resources. But we have also found and research backs that students who live in the residence halls are more likely to graduate in less time, more likely to seek advanced degrees, and are more satisfied with their overall college experience. They build stronger relationships with their classmates. They're more engaged with faculty and advisors and are more involved on campus because they're exposed to a wider range of ideas and different resources. Besides that, we require first and second year students to live on campus, and research states that the most obvious reason to live on campus is the convenience of being close to the academic environment and other resources such as dining, recreation, the library, tutors. There's just so many different reasons to live on campus. Just having those resources at your fingertips. There's also other positive outcomes for living on campus, though. So there is a sense of community, which is intentionally developed in each residence hall through our residence life curriculum. And we really, really focus on community and belonging and curiosity also. Our costs are inclusive, therefore add-ons such as cable, utilities, etc. are covered, so there's no surprise bills. And so they know what they're getting within their cost. And just knowing that we really are here to support the students, we want them to flourish living on campus, and especially during their first and second year as they get ready to kind of move to the next phase. We also focus on community. As I've said, and you're going to hear community is a big word for us, but we really want students to have a connection and a sense of belonging on campus. We want them to become involved. We want students who are involved. We have found that the more involved students are, it has shown that they're happier and more satisfied with their college experience. And then we have student and professional staff on campus. And so we truly believe that fully immersing oneself in the WMN community is beneficial, that living on campus is a fantastic opportunity. We're committed to creating living environments that provide a supportive transition to William and Mary in our community, prioritizing academic achievements, offering a positive learning experiences, and provide service and accommodations. An example of us knowing the value in their engagement is confirmed by the benchmarking survey that we administer every fall. And so we do a survey in the fall and spring, and we really ask, how do you feel about living on campus? What are the good and the bads? And most of the results every year come back that 90% of the respondents indicate that living on campus has had a positive impact and contributed to their sense of belonging to living on campus, but also just being connected to the institution itself at William and Mary and just being in that environment and just really thriving. Our RAs really spend a lot of time connecting with students individually as a whole and just trying to learn who their residents are and what supports that they may need. But our RAs are also trained how to connect students to the resources they may need to thrive in our communities. So, part of our community really is founded on self-determination. We really are focused on one of our biggest foundations at William and Mary in residence life, and it's built on the philosophy of self-determination, which allows for residents and their community to make good decisions regarding their living spaces. It begins with roommates discussing their expectations of their shared living space, and it provides a starting place to determine priorities such as cleanliness, sleep, study schedules. We really, really encourage our students to have these conversations with their roommates. It's so important that they set those kind of boundaries now rather than later. And part of that too, this is all done through the housing portal in their housing application. And so they're able to go into the housing portal and really go back and forth between the roommates and really kind of address what is important to them living together, who is taking out the trash, how do they like to study, how do they feel about having guests in the room. It's all of those things that are so important. But also, the biggest thing is just teaching them how to communicate with one another, and talking about expectations is such a huge piece to that first step of living on campus. We then ask each community as a whole to extend that conversation to expectations of their hallmates regarding community spaces. Residents will make decisions around quiet hours, kitchen usage, about how they're keeping the common areas. And it also helps them hold each other accountable as a community so that if things do come up, they're able to have that conversation more as a whole of let's be better. Let's have a community that is positive. We then also have hall governance bodies, but we call them community councils here on campus. Each area has a community council, and it is all students that live in those communities. It is there to navigate concerns around larger building topics such as laundry room usage, the overall quiet hours of a building, but also it is a way for students to step into leadership and have some leadership experiences. I think one of the best parts about the Hall community councils are that students are able to step into leadership roles from a president role, a treasurer, a secretary, and really connect into our overall student organization, which is the Residence Hall Association, or also known as RHA, which is also governed by students that mainly live on campus. And these leadership experiences help them gravitate to bigger leadership opportunities on campus, whether it's in residence life or across campus in student organizations. But it is a very great experience for them. They also get to allocate funds to RAs and funds to the community itself for programmatic reasons, or there's just things to stock up the duty offices in their areas where they can check out things. Duty offices are in every area, and that is where your student is going to go potentially if they get locked out. It does happen once in a while. And so just know that if your student gets locked out, that's okay. They're going to be able to get a spare key to get back into their room. The first one is free. After the first one, though, there is a fee of $48 for an administrative fee. But we really hope that it's only a one-time occasion for them. But those duty offices also hold the supplies that the community councils buy for the areas. And that can be anything from cleaning supplies to board games to communal dishes, things like that, that they're able to check out at those duty offices. The next piece to self-determination, second core area is community development is one of the biggest pieces in our job in residence life. It encourages residents and the community to be resilient and flourish. And our staff engages with residents individually and as a whole to further that philosophy. But we also have learning goals in our curriculum. And our first one is belonging. Students develop a sense of belonging in their community by embracing diverse perspectives and learning about experiences of others and the development of meaningful connections in significant relationships. Our second one that is so very, very important is well-being. Students will develop the self-awareness, habits, and support systems necessary to thrive, align their actions with their values, and sustain personal growth throughout their residential experience. And then community engagement. So going again back to that word community, students will recognize their shared responsibilities within a community and actively contribute to creating an environment where all members can connect, participate, and flourish together. So then we have our staff. We have over 160 student staff within residence life, and that really is a breakdown of RAs. So resident assistants are, for the most part, on every floor within our buildings. And so your student is able to get to a student staff member pretty easily for support or resources or just a quick question or just someone to say hi to. And then we have our senior resident assistants, and they're the next step up. They help oversee our duty offices also. And then we have our community directors who are our graduate students. We have five GAs, our community directors, and then we have five full professional live-in staff members. These full-time professionals live in each residential area and devote a significant portion of their responsibility to developing community in the halls and helping students succeed. They're also the professional that your student may connect with if a roommate situation has escalated or they have a bigger question potentially to ask that's above a student staff member. But there are so many supports within the residence halls for students. We also then have housing assistants. Housing assistants are our student staff that walk through our fraternity and sorority houses during rounds. They are actually overseen by our student support coordinator who also lives on campus. So there is actually 6 professionals that live on campus and serve in a duty rotation for our on-call system. We also have facility assistants that students may see walking around the halls once in a while, and they help us keep eyes on common areas, walkthroughs of halls, just another set of eyes helping support our department and our students. Our RAs are arriving next week, but our senior RAs and our five community directors and also our GA for our Community Development Center have all arrived already and are already in training and getting ready for your students' arrival next. Um, so we're really, as you can see from the picture, a lot of student staff on our staff, and they are excited and they're ready to welcome students every year. So. And then on top of having our full-time student staff and our full-time professionals, we then have our main office, which includes me. Then there our director of business operations for Residence Life. And then we have our assignments team and our facility operations team. And so there are a lot of us here to support your students, whether it's our full-time staff or our student staff, we're here and ready to support students. And then orientation. And so as students move onto campus, we get them moved in and then they transition right to orientation. And your students are going to be immersed in orientation sessions. We're going to keep them busy. Our partners in the STEP office are going to keep them moving from one session to another. And we know you're going to miss them. And you're going to hear so many sources that this transition is just as significant for you as it is for your students. But my best advice is avoid distracting them during this time and just let them embrace the change, um, and just let them kind of figure things out. But just be a text away. Let them reach out to you. But they also love packages, and so make sure that you send them packages. They love getting care packages from home, and so just keep that in mind. Some things for you all to know too, when it comes to services, when your student checks in, they get an email from us. It is you've checked in email, but it's an email they should pin to the top of their inbox, because this email has a lot of good information from how to contact us on our main office, but also how to contact maintenance and facilities, which are really important also. And so for maintenance, we do ask students to put in their work orders. So while we hope everything stays in good working order, we know sometimes things can break or need attention. A light bulb might go out, it might need replacing. For that is when we're going to ask students to put in their own work order. And the reason that we ask students who live in the room to put in that work order is so that they're giving permission to our facility staff to enter the room and switch out that light bulb. Or if there's a drawer broke or something, it gives permission for facility staff to enter the room and fix whatever the issue is within the room. Now, I will say, I talked about communication earlier in the presentation. I would ask that your students definitely talk to their roommates about, hey, I put a work order in, so that the other roommate may not be surprised when facilities shows up to fix something. Happens more often than you know, but just making sure that they've communicated with their roommates. We try to make it easy for students to report problems and get help as soon as possible. They can report almost every issue they have online, and of course, to their RA and hall staff, but the RAs are also going to help ask them to put in that work order to give permission. Now, if they feel like they put a work order in and it's taken a while for a response, they can absolutely email living@wm.edu and just kind of ask, is there any follow-up? Could you check into this? And we'll start following up with our friends over in facilities to see what kind of is going on. Um, with those pieces in mind, we also we have a partnership with a company that comes in and sprays all of our halls for pests. But if your student feels like there might be a pest issue within their room, they are more than welcome to also make an appointment with that provider to come in and check that out for them also. I will say I personally have our own pest service at my own home here in Williamsburg because I have learned that it is very humid and very swampy in our area, and it is the perfect place for bugs. They love it here. So just know that that is a service that we also offer to students. at any time also. And then two important emails are on here. Anything that is room assignment related, so their housing contract, their housing portal, their room assignment, everything, a room change request, that's all through our My Room at wm.edu. Any other issues, so like a facilities issue, those all go through living at wm.edu. So just keeping those things in mind. So next we're going to talk about important dates. I know that we're literally talking about students moving onto campus and getting settled and starting off their semester. But we also like to talk about the important dates because we also know that you all want to plan, whether that's for vacations or just when you need to come pick up your student. And so we like to list this all out for you all. So residence halls, we don't close for Labor Day. Students don't have to go home, but they don't have class that Monday, September 1st. Family weekend is a really important date for you all to keep in mind. It's September 18th through the 20th. And so if you're wanting to plan to come out for family weekend, it is a great time and a great experience and just something to keep in mind. And then we have fall break, October 8th through the 11th. We do not close the halls for this. It is just a time that students are able to come home if they want to. And then we have homecoming, October 22nd to 25th. And then Thanksgiving break is November 25th to the 29th. Classes are in session Monday and Tuesday, but remotely that week. Now, the residence halls do not close during Thanksgiving break. However, there are limited dining options that week. And so just keeping that in mind if your student plans to stay, that it will look a little bit different on campus. Our office is actually closed for that week, but we do have staff on call on rotation. But the residence halls themselves do not close. And then winter break is December 16th, but the halls do fully close at 10 a.m. So what that means is that that is the last possible time that your student can be here in the residence halls is they have to depart by 10 a.m. We are fully closed at that point through January until we reopen the halls January 22nd. And so we really try to encourage and remind students when you're packing for winter break, make sure you're taking your medications home that you may need. Make sure you're taking the passport or important documents you may need because the halls are fully closed during that time frame. So that's a whole month that we're closed and they are coming back home with their laundry baskets full and ready to wash some laundry and have some maybe home cooked meals and just hanging out at home with you all. So then we reopen January 22nd, and then spring break is March 13th through the 21st. Just like Thanksgiving break, we do not close the residence halls, but again, it will be limited dining on campus during that week. And so just if your student is staying on campus, just things to keep in mind. And then it's hard to think about this, but then the residence halls will close on May 20th for graduating students. And that is the final time for them to kind of check out and return home for the summer until they come back to us in the fall. Just a real brief overview of room change. Room change, while most students have positive roommate situations, sometimes they may find they need a change, or roommates together find that they want to live together, but they don't love the hall that they're in, maybe. They are able to put in a room change request. Room changes can be submitted at any time, but just know that space is really, really limited right now. We are at almost 98% occupied for the fall semester. But we also always encourage students to talk with their RA, their SRA, or their area director, or anyone in our office if they're having a roommate conflict. We also have other offices that we can refer students to if they need extra supports. But again, students can initiate a room change request online via the housing portal at any time. But just know that we cannot process room change requests from family members. It has to come directly from the student via the housing portal. They're processed as space is available. So just keeping that in mind too, that if they were to list all singles, the likelihood of their room change request going through quickly is limited versus a student that puts in wanting to move anywhere on campus, gives them more options. It gives our staff more options to offer to students also. But just also know that currently we don't have fully vacant rooms right now. And so just knowing that we are really um, almost at occupancy, but we will do our best to work through room changes as they come in. A quick overview is we are asked this a lot. William and Mary initiated a long-term comprehensive plan to modernize and revitalize our residential and dining facilities. The project aligned with goals of Vision 2026 and spans over 3 phases. So we just concluded the first phase for the residence halls this past year, and we opened 5 new residence halls and 1 renovated hall last year. And the year prior, we opened another renovated hall. And we continue to look to the future and what is next in phase 2. What this plan means is that we're replacing 80% of our beds are either being replaced or renovated. So we're not building more beds. We did a really in-depth study, and we've done it several times over, of what our actual housing demand is on campus. And that is why we're replacing beds and renovating beds, but not adding beds. What this plan means is that by the end of our renovations and replacing of beds, that we'll be at 100% AC in residence halls, that our aging facilities will go from the average age of 42 to the average age of 32, which is a big deal. And that will go from 77 residential buildings to around 55 residential buildings, which is really exciting. And then a new dining hall. And so there's just a lot of things that we're working through on those. These are our 2 halls that have been renovated most recently. Old Dominion Hall reopened last year and is home to upperclassmen. And then Monroe Hall, that was renovated now 2 years ago, is um, home to the Monroe Scholars also. So if you have a Monroe Scholar, they might be living in this hall now. And then these are just images of what we are in the midst of and where we're looking to the future. So this is the pedestrian bridge that connects West Woods now to the Sadler side of campus, and we are so excited to have this connection for students. It is a quick walkthrough, but also just they get to walk through the woods, and it is just a lovely view every day. These are some images from Pine Hall. So if you have a student living in Pine, this is potentially where they are living. We have beautiful study rooms in these areas. We have nooks in the hallways that they hang out in. Just really wonderful common spaces that students are able to gather in. Part of our dining and housing plan has been to just give spaces that students truly want. We took a lot of student feedback into what we renovated and build, and so just keeping that in mind for students. And some more images, some images of Cedar Hall. And so if you have a student who is in our newest Democracy Scholars program or the SHARP program, they are most likely living here in Cedar Hall. And then we also have just traditional housing in Cedar Hall also, but it is a first-year hall. And some images from Cedar. And although we are through phase 1, we are already planning for what phase 2 will look like. And so our hopes is that right next to Westwoods, we'll then build a Westwoods 2 that will be 3 other buildings in that area. Over 3 phases, we're really wanting to address the aging residents and dining halls. We really want students to have the spaces that they deserve. We want to ensure we advance the integration of living and learning on campus and that sense of belonging and curiosity, but creating those spaces that can really help that thrive and help students thrive in those environments. So that is all I have for today. If you have questions after this, know that you can email Living or My Room. Again, My Room is going to be more about our housing assignments and contracts. I am also happy to take questions and emails too. And so just know that also. But we are so excited to welcome your students to campus and help them adjust to campus life and transition to campus life. But just know that there are so many supports here, and we're so, so excited to have them on campus. And we look forward to hopefully meeting you at some point too. And that is all I have for today. And that is it.